Okay, sure.
No,
No
no, no.
problem.
This was off the air. So, hello, Mortis or Harvard. Do I say Harvard or Harvard? Because sometimes it's with a apostrophe. It's something different, right?
Yeah, I mean, nobody outside of Norway and Sweden really says it right. If you were from Norway, you'd say Håvard.
Harvard. This is what I thought.
Håvard, yeah. So that's the thing
Harvard.
with
Okay.
the little apostrophe, or as I say, the circle,
hmm
the circle above the A, basically makes the sound O.
I thought
Yeah.
so because I have a friend in Norway, and I think he told me once. So I was like Howard, yeah. But of course, yeah, everyone else would say Harvard or something. Howard.
And that's fine. I'm used to it. That's what I've spoken to so many people around the world, and they all say how Harvard, and that's I'm just so used to it. I mean, I sign my name that way with whenever I email foreigners, outside of Norway or Sweden. I don't even bother with the O letter
hmm
because I don't even know if that letter will translate on their end of the on in cyberspace, so to speak. I mean, do they even have that letter on their computers? It's just gonna be like some weird figure when it comes there. Yeah,
I think
I just yeah.
in the past you were right. I think it was kind of really very simple script, but now the computer is getting more advanced, so we can also read the advanced script. But yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
I I don't have the same problem, but kind of a similar problem because my name is Tobias. In German it's Tobias, and I guess you would also say Tobias, but in English it's Tobias, and I hate Tobias. So I was not happy with that. But until a nice
Well,
lady said Tobias sounds like such a cool name, and since then I'm fine with it. So
of course, yeah. You know, you will accept it from certain people.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you please introduce yourself and say who you are, what kind of music you're making, and then we just take it from there.
Okay. My artist name is Mortiis, and I've been around since actively as a musician, I guess, since 1990. So we're talking well over 30 years. I mean, I started out in a couple of death metal bands that never got anywhere. I was a vocalist in one, and I played bass in the other. Then I joined the Emperor for a little over a year, which is where I kind of started out properly, using the artist name Mortiis. That came up around that time, 1991. Uh, Once I left Emperor, I started sort of messing around with. I was really inspired by, this might be familiar to you, like the Berlin School type of electronic music.
hmm
Tangerine Dream, of course, from
Oh
your
yeah.
country, Cloud Filson from your country, and I was listening to a lot of other stuff as well, and a lot of the solo stuff that came out of those bands, from Peter Baumann. How do you pronounce that? Peter Baumann? I don't know. I
Peter
don't even know. Like,
Baumann, Baumann, einfach nur Baumann.
Baumann.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it's
He
just
was in Tangerine Dream, and he was. I'm digressing now really badly, but
this is
I was.
exactly what I want. Digress as much as you want. This is a free
That's
floating conversation.
You've come to the right man.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Let's digress.
so I was inspired by those guys, especially the stuff that they put out in the 70s, because what I realized was possible was to make really really long songs. You didn't have to stick to the 4 minute sort of traditional concept of songwriting, and I thought that was great. They were making songs that were like 30 minutes long. So it wasn't so much that I didn't I wasn't inspired by their music so much as I was just a fan of it, but I was inspired by the idea of breaking the rules and creating music that was not necessarily very organic. It was more electronic.
hmm
So that's how I started out. I made a few records like that, and then in the early 2000s, I kind of got fed up with it, and I went. In a sense, I went back to the more sort of rock, traditional way of songwriting, and I started programming the synthesizers, and we started using guitars. I started singing, over my music and everything. So, there records like "The Smell of Rain" and "The Garage" were put out in that time, and "The Great Deceiver" and things like that. And a few years ago, I kind of went back to the roots. Partially, I went back to my roots, and I'm still creating the sort of hybrid electronic slash metal crossover sort of industrial rock music that I started getting fairly good at making. I still do that, and I also so I kind of split myself in two. I split the atom,
Hmm.
and just I kind of do both versions of Mortiis now.
Okay.
The early and the later one.
Okay.
So yeah, in short, I guess that's my 30-year story.
And you also, I think, on your Instagram, you're also back with Emperor.
Well, not back with him. I'm just going to do a little bit of a guest appearance at this live streaming show that's I don't know, in a week and a half from now.
Ah, okay.
I think a lot of people kind of got the wrong idea. I mean, I was looking at the comments. I'm like, oh fuck, I guess they think I'm back in the band. That's not the case. I'm just gonna. Me and Faust. We were together for a short period of time in 1992. It was me, Faust, Ishan, and Samoth. That was Emperor. For a little while. And I guess a lot of people kind of consider that. I don't know. I don't want to, get high on myself or anything like that. I mean, people, please don't get this the wrong way, but I think some people consider that to be kind of a classic lineup.
Hmm.
I guess it's because the mini LP was made by us, and then a few other songs, and some of those tracks became kind of timeless for Emperor. So it was just sort of stamped in time. So yeah, it's really just a matter of us getting back together for a couple of songs in the middle of their live set, But
Okay.
I think certain people out there, some of these diehard fans are making a pretty big deal out of it, and I'm looking at the comments and I'm like, oh fuck. But I was kind of half expecting that, But yeah, it's not a reunion as such, no.
Okay. I see. I see. So, okay, where to start? So, what drew you initially to the music was kind of that it was kind of the boundaries were broken, so you were not in the boundaries of like a 4-minute song or something, and so this was the real first thing that kind of appealed to you.
We're talking about my early music now.
Yep.
Well, if that was the first music that appealed to me, or
No, because you said like what you didn't like the Tangerine Dream, you didn't like the music so much, you
no,
just
no, no.
like
I
that.
loved it. I
Okay.
love the music.
Oh,
I
sorry, I
absolutely
got it wrong.
adore the music.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. I still listen to Tangerine Dream, and I was lucky enough to catch Tangerine Dream live, and I think in 2015 or maybe 2014. It was just a few months, I think, before Edgar Froese actually passed away, and they were doing this the old album Sorcerer, which was an old soundtrack album that they did back in one of their first soundtracks, maybe their first, in 1977, I think, and it was for a movie made by the same guy that did the Exorcist movie. And they were playing a show. They were like performing that record live in Copenhagen, and me and Stefan Groth from Optima Berserk and another friend of us, we flew over just to catch that show, and it had Moebius was one of the openers, and then Neu. So it was this amazing Berlin school sort of early 70s, clash.
It was like a time capsule, I guess. Like
it really was. It was fantastic. It was a great fucking show, and a few months later, Edgar had passed away, and that was, of course, very sad. But people get old, and it's nature.
Yeah,
It happens.
Exactly. This is, if you want to get it more philosophical, it's kind of what makes life so special, because you can lose it. If there would be, it's not like in a video game where you just have another heart and when you go on, it's so fucking special because you can die, and that's why use your time and. Giving it back to you, you used your time quite nicely and wisely. Okay.
And now
so,
I'm dead.
Not yet. Don't please don't die. I think you just no don't do that. But we can maybe talk about this because you have I don't really know how to form this, and this is now the free floating conversation because I have no idea. You have a very strong visual style, and I personally don't really know what to make of it because appeals to me, but it also rejects me. I mean, I'm kind of, it's kind of like both things in my soul at once. It's
Right.
gorgeous pictures. It's very well. Your videos are really bombastic, but what happens in there, it's disgusting, and I don't know how to. I have a little theater background, so I'm kind of like really like, man, he's playing with my emotions here, and I don't really know what to make of it. So. What I really like on this, and this is why we're talking, so thank you for your time, is your art really, there is more to it than just the music, and there's a whole visual arc to it. Anyway, we can talk about the mask thing as well. So I'm just I will just, and I don't get it, please, the wrong way, but you were just a bass player and a metalhead and a singer, and then you get to, how does it happen that you get from let's say, very basic handmade metal music to such a almost very filigran, elaborate, uh, like, did you make a major in theater or something? I don't get it. You're from here to where, and like in no time. How did it happen?
Well, it would. I was just as you were talking, I was thinking, well, that it didn't happen overnight.
Yeah, I thought so,
You know,
but I
it,
don't know
it,
the
it very-
process. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it was all step by step. Once I left Emperor, by that point, I mean, I was already very much into the visual end of things. I mean, even if you look at the Emperor photos that I was in, I was always the guy that spent the longest in front of the mirror, with the corpse paint and all that stuff. And the other guys were a little sloppier. I mean, they looked great too. They had their style. I mean, I was the guy that fucking, made sure it was all white and black and contrasted, and they try to experiment with things. And, it's pretty much a case of, as a 4-year-old, the only thing I knew was Elvis Presley and Gene Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
And those are two pretty fucking cool performers in their own field,
Mm-hmm.
when you look at it. I mean, they're from two different generations, but they were kind of like entertainers. I don't know if I'm an entertainer in that sense, but they were very visual.
Mm-hmm.
You look at Kiss, and it was
Yeah,
it was
of course,
clearly,
of course.
it was
Kiss. Yeah.
Kiss obviously was a thing that it must have been controlled mainly, at least visually, and all the merchandise and all that, all the cartoonish stuff that they kind of turned into. It must have been a brainchild of Gene Simmons all along. I don't think the other guys did a whole lot other than just sort of,
Mm.
follow his lead.
Yeah, yeah, we were in it
On
for
the
for
visual.
the, for the
And
girls and for the fun, but not so much
yeah,
for the, yeah. I get it.
but
Yeah.
I grew up with that, and Alice Cooper, and in the '80s, other big image bands came along like Wasp. In the early days, Wasp were very fucking visual and rougher around the edges, than Kiss were with the saw blades and the raw
Mm-hmm.
meat and the blood and the torture rack on stage. And I probably picked up on that a lot. They were my favorite band when I was about 10. And even early Motley Crue. I mean, look, if you buy Shout at the Devil as a gatefold album, and you open that thing up,
Mm-hmm.
it's like the gates of hell with four cool dudes standing in front of fucking the Inferno. So it's very visual, very powerful, and that's what I grew up with. And I thought that's what fucking bands should look like,
Mm-hmm.
in my world. So
No, and I really like that, because this is, I had this discussion with other bands where it's kind of like, I get it that sometimes it's easy, if you're just in jeans and in your t-shirt, and then you go on stage, you look exactly the same as you were in the audience, and it is
yeah,
fine, if you're like, I don't know, grunge or any roughneck stuff, but also I think. If it kind of shows to the audience that you take them seriously and that you want to put on a show, that you want to kind of entertain, like you said. But I will phrase a question at the end of this, because anyway. So I also take it. You take the audience seriously. You're not the little child from who stands in the audience, and now he's on up there. And hello, mama. You're greeting all your little friends. you're this beast of I don't know what, and you're filling the
Yeah, well,
stage, basically.
yeah. There's I definitely feel very different when I'm on stage, as because you get very very self conscious, and I can't speak for anyone else, but I feel like I just sort of drift onto this different sort of level of existence, and you just get into that. You're very much aware of what you look like on stage, and you're very much aware of what the stage looks like, and so you just kind of um, it's acting, I guess.
Hmm.
You just go, okay, this is my reality now. This is fucking me, and you project that onto the audience.
Mm.
And even with the shows that I do with the sort of the non-metal stuff, that I've done so much, and it's not a lot of action on stage, but it's still very visual. So you communicate with other means, which is the visual sort of force field that you hopefully have around you,
Hmm.
and try to project that onto the audience.
Yeah, and I think what my theory is, and you can say how you think about it, is that because you know what I sometimes hear when the guys who go on stage with their jeans and their t-shirts, they're like, oh, this is us, this is how we look in real life and stuff. But there was always the thing what Lemmy said from Motorhead, the guys don't go to a show to see the nice guy from the neighborhood, they want the rock star, so give him a show.
Yeah, I
And
was gonna say Lemmy was very visual. I mean,
oh
nobody
yeah,
looked like him.
of course, of course.
Everything he did, I think, was very thought through, and it was probably completely in harmony with his personality. I think he was probably the exact same guy on and off stage, but Lemmy, as everybody knows, existed on a whole different
Yeah,
fucking level from everyone else.
that's for
So,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah, no, and what I wanted to say is, I get their point that they want to be authentic. That's kind of like a very important thing today. That we look like this because we're so authentic and da da da. But
yeah,
what I think as a performer, and I think you are the you can say it, that you are still the person you are. You just kind of make a part of you bigger, and this is the in German we would say Rampensau. The guy who wants to be on stage and who wants to entertain, and you just enhance this part of you because it's still you, but it's just. The focus is on just one thing and not on the one, who's very self-conscious and I don't know, and I guess you love your mother and stuff, but this is not what's important on stage. On stage is more like the raw person, that you the entertainer, that you fill the room, even like you said, even if you stand alone on stage, you still can have a presence, like you fill the whole thing.
yeah.
Um, so I
Well,
guess
yeah, it's like you said, it's that part of you that you want to project to people, and everything else. I mean, in my case, everything else just gets filtered out, and you become.
mhm,
What you see is what you get. I mean, that is completely the only thing that I am
mhm,
when I'm on stage for that hour or whatever. I'm not thinking about the shopping list for next week or anything like that. I'm thinking about the fucking dark nightmare that I'm trying to project onto people. I mean, that's
mhm,
like sits within that bubble for
mhm.
that time at least.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
this brings me back, full circle to this. And so this is authentic because you are this in this moment, you just enhance one certain particular strain of you, because we are all different kind of persons in different environments. You are, I don't know, you're a friend, you're you have different hats in different situations, and if you're on stage you are the thing. And now I'm
Yeah.
coming to the question I wanted to ask, because for me this is actually, I get it that it's easy for you to slip into a role if you wear a mask, like you did. I don't know if you still do. So it's kind of you're
No,
hidden.
I still use it.
Okay, you still use it, but coming from a theater background, for me, a mask is a hindrance as well, because you cannot emote so well. Because I know your mask is a little bit better, now with that it's has facial things that you can really do something with it, I guess.
Mm.
But
Yeah, to a degree. I mean, it's not like a real face. It doesn't have all the muscles and the little
mhm.
things. The little nuances of the face. Let's probably like 10,000 muscles just in your
Yeah, yeah.
face alone. That's not going to translate into the mask, but to a degree. But I mean, I'm used to it. I use my eyes a lot. It's
Mhm.
just actually you can do a lot just with using your eyes. Believe it or not, that sounds really lame, but
No,
there's a
it
lot of
doesn't.
there's a lot of communication right here.
I completely understand that.
Yeah.
This is the best actors who don't. I mean, like you said, it's just the eyes. If if you tone it down in a way, then every little thing becomes so much bigger. If you have an
Yeah.
empty stage and you just stand there, and then you do this, just a movement of, very deliberate and very, I completely get that. It was just for me, coming from an acting standpoint,
Yeah.
it's always a little bit bad to kind of take away the thing what you're working with. I mean, you're absolutely right. You can do a lot of with the eyes, but you can also do. I mean, you can move your face. You
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
said you have like 10,000 muscles. You kind of hindering yourself a little bit with it.
I suppose so, but I never really thought about it in the sense that, oh, I wish I could communicate more with my face. uh, Probably because I'm not an actor. I've never done drama or theater in any way. I mean, as far as it's ever gone with me, it's been my videos.
Hmm.
Um, and there's so much other stuff going on in the videos that it's never been my face has never. Strangely enough, my face has not been the actual focus. I guess there's
It's
other things going on there, as
Yeah,
you said,
it's that is
disgusting,
true.
terrible things. Yeah,
Exactly, disgusting,
horrible
terrible
things.
things. And okay,
Yeah.
good. So we have cleared up this point, but um, still, I'm a little bit fascinated that you create this world for your Mortis character so seemingly well. I I'm I don't know your circumstances, and of course, I haven't told you this before we started. Whenever I ask you something that it's inappropriate, okay, just gloss over it or something. But
Yeah.
I'm kind of just, I want to look a little bit in your head because I'm take me as a reference point. I have a job, I have a family, I have a hobby, and this is one of my hobbies to talk with people I find interesting. So how do you find the time to create this vision, or how do you get it? What books do you read, or to get these ideas, or do you rely on other people? That you have a good cinematographer, a good video person who kind of comes to you. I have this idea. How do you do it?
I think it's a more matter of about 30 years now of just cultivating my mind to constantly work.
Hmm.
Um, you know, there's a lot of time in between doing things where you can just let your mind roam. And whenever I drive my car or on the way to, because I have just the things you described, a job, kids, family, and all that stuff. I have all that stuff too.
Hmm.
But there's a lot of these moments in between all the craziness of
Hmm.
driving kids to school and picking them up at school, driving to work and staying at work and all that stuff where the brain can just, if you cultivate your mind, it might take you a while. But after a few years, it just works on its own,
Hmm.
and take notes. That's a really big. I use my iPhone. That the one app I use the most on my iPhone is that little text
Hmm.
app.
Hmm.
Where we just that little to-do list app, whatever the fuck it's called, text or
Hmm.
whatever. I can't remember. There's like 100 fucking notes in there at all times where
I
I just
see.
write down like little things. And then I don't have to think about it. I can just look that up later,
Hmm.
and I'll transfer that into my Mac and onto bigger lists, and I'll just collect it. And a lot of times, and I do the same thing with music, just little melodies. I just get it down fast, and then I'll just store it away. And they might be forgotten for 10 years. That's happening a lot now. I'll dig something out. Oh, fuck, I made that in what, 2009? That's cool. So I'll just work on that now. So there's this big stockpile of little fucking fragments
Hmm.
of
I see.
musical ideas or visual ideas. We'll try this. Maybe it would be cool to have a photo shoot with 10 pigs. Because that might fucking look crazy.
Okay,
What? What?
okay.
Why not?
So
Why not?
yeah, yeah, why not? Of
That's a
course.
good,
But
it's a fantastic metaphor.
yeah, no,
So yeah,
yeah. I I I hear something what you haven't said in there, and this is a little bit, I think, the curse of our current situation we are in, because what I feel often, I'm also a little bit older, um, that people don't, of a youth, I don't want to bash on all of them or something, but it's kind of very hard to get bored these days, to let your mind wander. So you have perfected this, as you said, that you have when you drive and you let your mind wander, because
yeah,
most people I see today, they're standing on a bus stop and waiting for the bus, and the bus comes in 3 minutes, so they get out their phone and play a game, or make a selfie, or do whatever, but they don't get bored. And I kind of saw this coming a while ago, and so I'm kind of taking deliberate steps to not take my phone with me, to go on hikes, and just get bored once in a while. Just sit somewhere in a waiting room, when I don't know, when I go to the doctor or something, and don't read something, just look around, look at other people and see what they're doing, letting my mind wander. This is the thing what you have seemingly cultivated, that you can let your mind go. And I see a big problem these days, that the younger generation has trouble to let their mind go, because there are so many things that's competing for their eyeballs. So it's very funny, because when while I'm talking, I'm also thinking the youth has always been bashed. Like 2,000 years ago, there was one of the philosophers says, "Oh,
yeah.
the youth is so rotten, and they're never." So this is kind of, I'm doing the same, like 2,000 years ago. So
Oh
and
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think it's lost, because for me it's kind of like the pendulum swings in one direction and then it swings back. So there's always an anti movement. Anti is German, sorry. Anti movement. Um, so yeah, but as
I do that a lot. Yeah, I've gotten to that age where I go like these fucking kids, and
yes,
I
you
sound like
cannot
an old
help it.
man, and I don't really know why that is, but I remind myself about it like many times, like, dude, it's not that long ago you were one of those kids. Time flies pretty fast.
Hmm.
So you try to understand them, and sort of let kids be kids, and stuff like that. But I fucking hate the music, man, that they listen to. It's fucking horrible.
Yeah, I don't
It's
know.
I don't know, and this probably makes me sound really old, because I remember my teacher back when I was like in sixth grade, and some of the girls in my class, they were playing Madonna, because she was like the biggest pop star at the time, and
Hmm.
he asked like, "What's this infernal noise?" And we're
Okay.
talking about Madonna, and that it's like pop music, and I'm thinking like, you should hear the fucking stuff I'm listening to, because I was into Slayer and stuff back in
Hmm.
87, 88. I'm thinking like, dude, you don't know a fucking thing, but I'm kind of turning into him,
Hmm.
you
It's
know.
it's inevitable, uninevitable. That's the word.
But I
It's
hate that. It
Yeah,
fucking
me
sucks,
too, me too. But
Yeah.
you caught it, so you can still go against it. That's
Yeah.
the good thing. You don't have to stick with it. I mean, you still can find a force against, because I try to the same. I don't know about okay, I don't want to go too private or something, but I have also my wife, she really likes K-pop, and I have no idea what I mean, I know what K-pop is, but K-pop is
Is that
so
some like Chinese like TikTok music or
yeah, this
some
is
shit?
Korean pop, and
Korean.
but it's all casting. These boy bands are all cast, and this is kind of absolutely, I don't know. It's just good-looking boys singing same shit. No, okay, you cursed. I can curse as well. The same shit as all the others, and there is no real. I don't know. There is no this. discernation. My point is, I got it here at home, so I have to deal with it too. So, but this kind of helps me to be grounded a little bit because,
Yeah.
I mean, everyone has his own taste, and your taste is different than my taste, and but doesn't make it better or worse. This is what I have to tell me. But you might not know that I'm also a radio DJ, and in this category, if I wear this hat, I have to be a little bit more strict because I like a lot of different music. I like Madonna, for example. I like pop music. Um, but for my radio show, I need to be more specific because it's more gothic, industrial, metal, and dark wave. And if I would allow everything what I really like, then it would be all over the place. It's already all over the place. It's kind of
Yeah.
a mixed bag thing.
You would
But
lose the crowd, man.
pardon me?
You probably lose your audience, because
Exactly. I
it
need.
wouldn't be predictable. People need for things to be a little bit predictable. Unfortunately, as an
Yeah.
artist, I don't like that, but that my business brain, my commercial brain understands that people need predictability, and
Mm.
especially on the radio, I guess.
Yep, yep, and this so anyway, so I have to judge sometimes music, if it's good enough or if I like it or not. And
Yeah.
you said something in the beginning that it sounded like you also have to deal with like with your branding because you have like different sets of music you're doing now. You're doing the electronic music and you're also doing, which sounds very intriguing because I'm a big Ministry fan, so for me this was the greatest revelation when
Yeah.
electronic with metal guitars. This is exactly my kind of thing. So
I've ripped off Al Jurgensen a few times. Well, I've
good.
tried. I
Why
mean
not?
that's another Lemmy level personality. You know what I mean?
Oh
So
yeah, he's
you
still
can't
alive. He's
rip
still
off a
around.
guy like Al. You
Mm,
can try, but
mm.
it's not easy.
So no, my question would be a little bit. So how do you deal with it? Because you just talked about branding. You need to put a stamp on it that people know what it is. That you kind of don't disgruntle your audience. That you kind of be a little bit consistent, but still grow as an artist. Because I can imagine as an artist, it's kind of annoying if you have to kind of put out the same like ACDC. I would die if I would be in ACDC. I mean, it's cool, a lot of money and whatever.
Yeah, you'd be rich, man. I think you'd be
Yeah,
pretty happy.
okay, yeah, you're right. Maybe I wouldn't die, but it's kind of like
Yeah.
I just try to get into mind of these people. If they go on tour and they're playing the same songs they play for 30 years, I mean, they can play it in their sleep. I'm pretty sure, but
Yeah,
it wouldn't. I
probably.
mean, it would be. I think I wouldn't be really fulfilled as an artist.
No, I mean I love AC/DC. Don't get me wrong, but I have so many like the way my brain just works is that I've got more than um I just want to do more than just sort of like walk in one direction. I want to be able to walk in a few different directions to see what happens. And that's what I've done, for the past 30 years, especially the past 20 years. I've actually been more experimental, I feel. And, but, I think, I don't like the term fans, but I'm going to use it. I guess my fans, and I've talked to people about this recently quite a lot. And I think at this point, my fans that do follow me hardcore, so to speak, they know what I do now. They know that the next album may not sound the way the previous one did,
Hmm.
and it's I feel like it's becoming more and more accepted. Back in the old days, when one album differed greatly from the previous one, I mean, you could see people get a little pissed off and stuff like
Hmm.
that. I always thought that was ridiculous because, like, the, it's like they have some kind of ownership over me. I mean, that's pretty goddamn unfair. I've always stated that first and foremost, I make music for myself, and maybe to some degree that is selfish. But the fact is, I don't make a living off of my music. I'm not able to do that. I mean, it's a very nice side income,
Hmm.
especially when we can play concerts. I mean, right now things are very strange and weird.
Hmm.
But I still have income from it, but it's just a lot less than it normally is. But The way I feel is, as long as, at least as long as I can't even make a living off of it, let me do what I want to do.
Hmm.
If my fans one day would be so, if they would multiply and become many, many more than they are now, and they would literally pay my wages and my life, then perhaps they would have more of a,
More of a say.
they have more stock in me.
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
maybe I would feel more obliged to kind of like, okay, you guys are really supporting me now, and I'm actually fucking making a ton of money. Maybe I should consider, looking at what you want from me. But even saying that sounds bizarre to me because
Yeah.
I've never done that. Um, I'm just throwing my thoughts out there, but um, as it stands, I follow my ideas and my instincts as in terms of what I feel is going to be really good music.
Hmm.
And that's what I've always done, and it's been working out pretty well. People now seem to have gotten used to that. So,
Yeah, and
full steam ahead, man.
I think this is also, you touched on an important point. This is kind of um, and this goes with his fan service. If you're not happy in doing the music you have to play live, you cannot really you cannot, if you cannot stand behind the music you're playing. I mean, I'm pretty sure you have songs you like more and songs you like less, and it
Yeah,
will
yeah.
change. You change, the music evolves and stuff. So it's normal, but I could not imagine how you would feel when you're playing music. You're just doing okay, and this one is for, I don't know, a special request from this person, and now I play. I don't know. This would
Yeah,
sound
I've never
sad.
done that. That's for weddings.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Special requests.
Mhm.
Fuck that, man.
I
Yeah, no, I've never done that. I mean, I decide what I'm gonna play live, and that's normally worked out. I mean, I think like a couple times some people go like, "You didn't play that song," or some shit like that. I'm like, "Well, fuck, so
Mhm.
what?" I mean,
Mhm.
I did it like 8 tours previously. I mean, why didn't you come to that show? So
Mm,
fuck it. I
yeah.
mean, I'm the boss, as we say.
Yeah, no, no, and it's because, yeah, I think what people don't understand, or the fans might not understand, is kind of, um, you need to be happy with it, and if you're just going through the motions, and this is a little bit like, I don't want to say ACDC is doing that, but I personally cannot imagine when you're playing the same song for 30 years that you feel absolutely fresh, and that you're kind of punchy, and oh yeah, you want to kill with this song, some maybe,
How
but
do you think? How do you think Tommy Iommi feels about Paranoid? Really, he
uh,
must be so fucking tired of that song,
I'm pretty sure he
and
is.
he must have played it like way more than any other Black Sabbath member because he's always been in Black Sabbath.
Hmm.
You know, I don't think. Do you think there's a single show Tommy Iommi ever did since 1970 that didn't include Paranoid
I don't think so. You're right.
or
You're
Iron
right.
Man? It's like he
Hmm.
must be fucking losing
Hmm.
his mind because of that. It's a fantastic song, but I've never played it live. I've just listened to it.
Hmm.
I haven't played it live. I mean, it's like fucking 50 years old. I'm
Yeah,
sure he's
it's
played it like a million times.
y-
So,
yeah, and here I
but he's
realize
got to do it.
I realize in my head that what you said earlier, I think the people here have a stake in it. It's kind of like, for me, these songs are like a monument. They belong to the public. They're not his anymore. They're kind of
Yeah.
like, they're in pop culture. They're beyond the artist. They're in public domain, or however you want to call it. They're like. You're right. Here, I have to admit, I would kind of, if I would go to a Black Sabbath concert, and it wouldn't be, I would be like, there's something missing. There's like he would play it without legs, or I don't know what. It's kind
Or
of like,
I think even going to like an Ozzy Osbourne concert, you would almost expect him to play Paranoid too.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Or a show without Crazy Train or some classic Ozzy song.
Hmm.
But, yeah, it's like you said. I mean, I think it just transcends everything that you can imagine. And then people would just completely find it. It's natural. You have to play it.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
no, you're right. So, but back to you. So, how do you decide what you play? Or I guess you have to rehearse what you have to play, so you're not so free because you have a big back catalog. So basically, you can, I don't know how long you could play. You could play for hours. So how do you decide which
yeah,
one you want to play? Of course, most likely the new material, but also what your classics. How do you decide that?
it really depends on the kind of concept of the show. I mean, these days I'm touring or I'm playing live as a solo artist. Back in the earlier a few years back when Mortiis was focused on the sort of crossover industrial rock, it was a band.
Hmm.
So obviously you focused on those songs. And at that point, it was for that type of show, we kind of just I guess we just had a conversation on the phone or something like that. Well, what songs should we do? And it's pretty clear cut. You take the songs you like yourself.
Hmm.
And thankfully, those are usually the ones that work the best live. And then occasionally, you'll pick out a couple of songs that you like and that the crowd doesn't get at all, and it's just like, oh fuck, I guess they didn't understand that. It's like, I love this song, but nobody else likes it.
Hmm.
That happens. But that was in the band version of Mortiis, with when we rip off Ministry and those guys and and that stuff. So, but right now it's a solo shit, and that's when I use the mask when I do this proper solo
Hmm.
material, which is more. It sounds more like my early stuff, very sort of synthesizer based and sort of dark symphonic and epic and very atmospheric and things like that. So, um, and those are a lot of those songs are really old. That takes us back to the beginning of the conversation when I was
Hmm.
talking about Berlin school stuff. And so it's like two songs can be an hour. So it's like
Hmm.
uh, the last couple of years, I've simply toured the latest album. So it's like a concept show. I'm performing the record.
Hmm.
So that's very easy. There's really no thought into going into that. It's not like to sit down and decide the songs. It's obviously just the album.
And you also
Yeah.
have the set list is also exactly like the album, from
Yeah.
beginning to end. Okay.
Every minute is the same.
Hmm. I see.
Completely. This is the record,
Hmm.
but it's live
Okay. Okay.
with backing tracks, of course, because it's just me. I mean, there's no reason to pretend that there's no backing tracks. That
Hmm.
happens in electronic music, unless you want to put
Yeah.
like fucking 25 people on stage.
Yeah, no, I think this is always funny. I'm talking with a lot of different artists, and of course, as I'm interested in dark wave, and I know dark wave has a lot of backing tracks. So
That's
sometimes
a
you have
lot of
this.
programming. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's fine. I talked with one guy, and he said, yeah, it's always the same. Like you, and he just puts on, and then he sings, and does. It also
Yeah.
frees you in a bit. And in the beginning, I have to admit, because I'm a bass player as well, and so I have a background with normal handmade music. So I was like, oh, this is cheating and stuff. But
Yeah.
once you realize, and I guess you can allude to this as well, it's not easy to perform to a backing track. First of all, to bring it to life, and also you have to be on time all the time. It's not
Yeah.
like.
There's pros and cons, to performing to a backing track, advantages and then disadvantages. The advantage being, of course, that the backing track will not make mistakes.
Hmm.
It'll sound tight. Of course, if the programming is good from the beginning. Of course, if you're a shitty programmer and you've produced a shitty fucking
Okay.
set of backing tracks, it's going to sound like shit every night because it's the same thing. The disadvantage of the whole thing is that there are technological risks. You could have a computer that crashes, and that'll be
Hmm.
very embarrassing. Um, and all those types of things. And the other thing is, the backing tracks will not wait for you. If the organic band that plays along with
Hmm.
this fucks up, or some equipment malfunctions, or something happens, that backing track, man, will just keep fucking going
Hmm.
because it's not a person.
Yeah. No. No.
So
And yep.
it's and so you do run risks, man. So you really kind of have to. And I'm not trying to sound like I'm a technological genius, but I got some experience with it now. you kind of need to know what you're doing, and you really need to bring backups. I've met so many bands and artists, that have been opening for us, and that have problems, that they can't get their fucking they can't get their computer, whatever they use to work, and it's crashing, and there's like this no sound, and yada yada yada, and they have no backups, man.
Hmm.
I
No.
we used to bring like at least two laptops, and then like we would burn CDs backups. We would fucking put it in the cloud.
Hmm.
That did like four backup number four, backup number five, and then like a flash stick. It's like
Hmm.
everything, just backup, 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 because we've made all those mistakes
Exactly. No,
in
I'm
the
I'm
past.
I'm completely with you. This is one
Yeah,
of the reasons. I started also with I have a solo thing as well, so I need to use backing tracks as well, and I didn't want. I have it, but I don't need to show you. I specifically didn't want it to have a computer on stage because of that. Because when there's an update and boom, everything closes up and stuff.
oh, you have to disable all the
Yeah.
internet stuff. I mean, all that shit, like anything that's not being used, is disable it. You got to get rid of it. He's
I have
leaving
a.
now.
What?
I was just talking to whoever's watching.
Okay. No, here I had this is kind of because I wanted to have some MIDI outputs, and this
Yeah.
is an LP16. So you have like 16. I don't know if you see that. No,
Well, it's
maybe.
like line outputs.
Yeah, exactly. Line
Yeah,
outputs,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then you have also
yeah.
MIDI
Many.
outs, and
Yeah.
so you can also you can play programmed MIDIs live to your tracks, and then you can kind of like the typical MIDI stuff you can do there,
Oh,
and
like filter sweeps and shit like that.
exactly,
Yeah.
and look cool without doing
Yeah.
anything because you're always on time and stuff. This is good,
Yeah.
and this I specifically bought because I didn't want it to have a laptop on stage, because I'm really hate laptops on stage. But yeah,
Yeah.
anyway.
It looks terrible. I mean, they're very practical. I mean, for a couple of reasons. I mean, one is that they have the big screen as opposed to the unit you showed me. Probably has a
Hmm.
small screen,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
it
like,
has a very small screen.
yeah, and you got to flip through like 55 parameters to
Yeah.
find what you. I hate that stuff. But the cool thing about these laptops, they don't have to be visible. I mean, that's the last fucking thing you want. I mean, you'll figure out, like, if you have a bit of a visual stage setup, you can hide it.
Hmm.
Hide it behind a fucking drummer, or have it on the side of the stage. If you have a crew guy that can watch it for you, or just hide it behind something so it's not visible. It's not really that hard. And I see a lot of bands, like, they just have their laptops like this big Apple logo fucking lighted up
Hmm.
on the middle of the stage. It just looks fucking. I guess, like, with Kraftwerk, it's okay because they
Hmm.
built a career on being fucking tronic. You know what I mean? So it's like with those guys, you kind of expect it, but um, with almost anyone else, man. I mean, I feel like it just looks really lame.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm still not. I don't mind. I'm not going to tell other people what we have to do and not to do, but I always would look for not a laptop on stage. Just because, all the updates would come in, and yeah, like you said, with a logo, or, they're sometimes often they're very fragile. You kick them
Yeah.
over, and they break,
Well,
and
yeah. That if that happens, you only do it once. And the
mhm.
next time you figure out a way to avoid that. The water, and especially with us when we played industrial rock, it was almost like a violent stage show. I mean, I broke my guitarist's rib several times. I attacked him on stage, and
Wow,
we destroyed equipment, and yeah, it was very,
you're a
very
rock
funky.
star.
And there was water flying everywhere in there, so like after every show I was like, I hope that laptop is still alive, and other
Mm.
electronic equipment. But you hide it, you stow it away certain
Mhm.
places. Like, a lot of times the drum, what we found out was the best way to trigger each song, because we have the click tracks and everything that
Mhm.
goes like through different channels straight to the drummer's in-ear system and all that stuff. And just keep the shit, all that um, fragile equipment, just keep it back with where the drummer is, because he's protected by the drum kit and the
Mhm.
cymbals, so he's kind of in the cage.
Yep.
So, and he's in the back, right?
Hmm.
So, and you stow the laptop into like a maybe like a flight case, which is like this big square thing, and with a shelf, and you could shove it in there. And he's the only guy that can ever see it,
Hmm.
and it's protected. You could throw microphone stands this way, it probably wouldn't even hit the laptop because that's sort of framed inside the wooden flight case.
While you're on the subject, because this is one of the things where I like to ask, um, you know, um, this is one of my standard questions. Let's put it this way. Um, as you were just talking about live setup, and you had like 6 or 7 tours, right?
That I've done.
Yeah, like 6, 7 tours.
Tours? Nah, I must have done like 20 tours. I mean, I don't even know
Oh,
how many tours I've done. I've been
I was
fucking
wrong.
all
Sorry.
over.
Okay,
Yeah.
but this is good for my next question because what is the and keep it maybe PG-13. What was the most funny thing what happened to you on stage or off stage or on the way to a venue or something? Some tour antics you can share with the audience.
Um, like a really embarrassing thing that happened was this was rather recently. I was on doing a tour of Australia a couple of years ago, and I think it was in Sydney, and we had sold out. And there were like hundreds of people. It was a very successful show in that sense. It was either Sydney or Melbourne, and I was doing my solo thing, which is very visual. I had the big sort of video background, with very cool visuals going on, very atmospheric. And I do use a laptop even there, but you can't see it because I built this sort of steampunky looking, almost like it looks like an old organ that I'm playing, and it's painted really cool, and it's got like
Mm,
iron things on it, and it's this very sort of steampunky, bronzy, black, reddish,
mm,
and and inside of that, I mean, I've got all the little knickknacks that I use, to trigger the music and to play. You got the keyboard controller and all that stuff. All the shit that people don't really need to see.
mhm.
And it kind of opens up like those old like organs. It's got this lid that kind of opens up and then opens up again. It looks
Oh yeah.
fucking
Hmm.
great. And but the thing is, it gets front heavy, and I've been adding all these fucking things to it. And I took out all the innards. It was an old organ original. Actually, I took out all the stuff. So it's really just a frame with a bunch of stuff inside of it. And all of a sudden, the front just breaks off in the
Okay.
middle of the show. And there's this massive fucking noise. It's like a big crack. And all of a sudden, I'm standing there, with nothing protecting, nothing to hide any of my gear. So I'm standing there in front of hundreds and hundreds of people with this fucking thing on the floor, and I'm standing there with a little keyboard and a laptop and the mask, and everything's just running. I mean,
Hmm.
except the sound only comes out on front of house on the left side now because the fucking thing fell down and it chopped one of the cables going into the DIs,
Hmm.
which is straight out the front of house basically.
Oh
It
man.
chopped that fucking cable in two. So there's a massive noise. I'm standing there with a goddamn laptop, and there's only sound coming out on the left side of the fucking front of house, And I mean, I had a crew guy with me, and he acted very fast, and he was able to build some stuff in front of me really quickly. And then the technicians, I guess, within like 2 or 3 minutes, were able to figure out what had happened and replaced the cable. All this, I just kept playing. I was like, just for about 10 seconds, I was like, fuck, should I just stop it and start over?
Hmm.
That would kill everything. You know,
Yeah,
that's like
this
as
is
missing.
really, I mean, this is very professional to keep on doing because I think everyone else would have been like, oh okay, we need to start over.
Well, dude, my brain was melting. I was panicking inside, but that's the one time when that's a good thing to have a mask on.
Hmm.
Because you couldn't really tell how fucking freaked out. I was thinking this is the most embarrassing moment. And so I can't think of a more embarrassing moment in recent times,
Hmm.
because when you have that mask and that kind of image, it's very, um, it is very fragile in the sense that if something goes wrong, it's a lot more embarrassing for a guy that tries to look that cool as it would be for a guy in a pair of shorts and an AC/DC t-shirt. If something goes wrong, it's just like, oh, sorry guys, let's just fucking
Hmm.
start. You can't really do that with all that imagery and all that visual shit.
Hmm.
You're supposed to be like this untouchable entity, and
Yep.
that's sort of part of the whole thing. So when that happened, I was like, oh fuck, man, I can never come back to Sydney again. But I think it worked out great, and I talked to some people, and I don't think anybody really minded.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody laugh at it. I'm sure somebody had a good laugh. I mean, they must have had it because it must have looked ridiculous.
Hmm.
But strangely enough, I never really heard about it afterwards. And yeah, we got the show. We did it, and I guess there were about 10 very awkward minutes in total. And the next day, we had a big repair job, to get that thing fixed back
Hmm.
together. But
Hmm.
it broke. It literally broke in half.
I see. I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is. I asked you earlier with a mask because I can understand in a way it's kind of shielding you. It's kind of like an armor. It kind of makes it easier to also literally get into the character because you become the character easier. When actors put on certain clothes and costumes and stuff, so it makes it easier to to be that person they're kind of supposed to be. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's kind of also. I never thought that it would also show your vulnerability, but I guess this is if it's well lit and there's the stage smoke and stuff, then it really looks cool. But when something happens and they flip on the lights and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
then you're like, oh, you're almost naked.
It's 10 times worse than if
Yeah,
it would have
I imagine.
happened to anyone that doesn't really have a very strong visual presence.
Hmm.
It just becomes very I don't know. Yeah, you really show how vulnerable it can become.
Hmm.
It's a far fall from the sort of pedestal that you put yourself on when you have all that imagery, um, down to the floor. It's hard, fast, and embarrassing as fuck. So, but
Oh
thankfully,
man.
it doesn't happen often. But
Mm.
you would be naive, I think, to think that occasionally it wouldn't happen. It will happen now and then.
Hmm.
Some technical disaster is just going to happen. It happens to everyone. Everybody has a story.
Hmm.
So and that was one of mine.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
One, yeah, but I think you have been asked this too often. So, how to come up with a character of Mortiis? Um, I still don't really know what it is. It looks really cool, but it's kind of. You also have a full body thing on, right? It's also you have like a bodysuit when you do
Yeah, I
the.
mean, um, well, I do have like stage clothes,
Mhm.
if that's what you mean.
Yeah, sometimes it looks like you're like I don't know like you're naked, but I'm pretty sure you're not naked. So it looks like you have a
Oh.
bodysuit on or something.
No, no, I never had a bodysuit. But I mean, sometimes the thing about those types of clothes, they don't look that great if you just have a T-shirt underneath. It's it's a
Okay.
bit like you got to go full
Hmm.
the full 9 yards on it. I mean, the only thing that's going to look good with this outfit is basically not wearing almost anything else underneath, except for like maybe some tights or something like that.
Okay.
And that can get pretty fucking cold when you have certain photo shoots,
Yeah,
you have to
you're in the north. You're in Sweden or Norway. You live. So
Norway, yeah.
yeah, yeah, now you're in Norway, but you also see. This is what. Okay, I'm gonna ask. Go ahead, and then I'm gonna ask you.
I was just gonna mention that it gets really cold. I mean, especially during those videos because they were made in the winter up in Finland, and hours in these like really cold like factories and things like that. In December, January, and it was fucking terrible. And we had this. It turned out to be a fucking awesome video shoot that we had. I mean, well, the video shoots were awesome too, but there was this really cool photo shoot that I had in Iceland, in the volcanic plains of Iceland. Um, And that was right before I did a show there, and I flew over like the day before, and I brought a photographer out there, and I paid for all of that because I'm thinking this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, to go into one of those environments that I've always wanted to take photos in. And we spent a whole day out there, and from like 7 in the morning, and it gets fucking windy and cold in that
Mm.
place.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Uh, this was also in December, I think, December of 2019 or something like that. It was right before I went on a US tour right after that, and I came home 2 weeks later. The pandemic started.
Mm.
So it was lucky.
At least you got your tour down. At least
I
mm.
got the tour down. If that tour had been booked like maybe 3 or 4 weeks later, it would have been canceled, the whole thing. And that would have been a fucking financial disaster, man. Because you put a lot of money into tours in advance. You invest a ton of money in merchandise and tickets, and you rent vehicles and you book hotels. All that stuff happens weeks and weeks ahead of the tour.
Mm-hmm.
So you put a lot of money into it, before you even get on the plane.
And this is maybe a little bit a delicate question, but it's your money, or do you have like a touring agency or a label who fronts the money? You don't have to answer the question if you don't want to.
No. That's part of the business. I mean, I have agents, for touring agents. I mean, at least I used to have them. I mean, they might be bankrupt by now. Who knows? But and I have a manager, and he kind of controls that stuff. I haven't really worked a lot with record labels for many, many years. I've been very independent.
Yeah, you had your own. You had your Dungeon. What was it? Dungeon Music.
Well, that was back in the '90s. I had a label called Dark Dungeon Music. Now I have a thing called Omnipresence, which is a logo. Really, I don't really release my own records. I license out. The whole point of that is to never again lose the rights to my music. I mean, there are records that I have made that I will never own the rights to again because I signed a terrible satanic deal made in hell.
Wow.
Yeah, it's terrible. Absolutely fucking horrendous. And but yeah, as far as the money invested in tours, you could say it's my money because basically what, a manager / an agent's job is to book shows and negotiate the fees for the show. And once the tour is booked, you set up a budget, and you add up all the income. And the idea is for you to be experienced and smart enough to also know about all the expenses. So you have to put that into the same budget sheet, and then it's really a very easy, well, not easy, but it's a simple matter of equations,
Yeah, exactly.
Take a
It
look
should
at all
be
the
like
income.
what comes
balance.
in, and yeah, exactly. You have to balance the equilibrium here. I got it.
So all the money coming in is mine, but all the expenses going out are also mine.
I see.
So and then of course you have to invest something in advance, such as booking hotels, booking the vehicles that you travel around in, booking the flight tickets. And in the case of, for example, the United States, you have to get the work visas, which are very fucking expensive, and it takes forever to get them. So there's a lot of expenses.
I see.
Yeah.
You just mentioned that, and this is where I'm just really stupid or so. You said you license your music out for pressing or vinyl or whatever. What is it? I mean, I haven't heard this before. But I talk with artists because today it's easy to distribute your music on your own. You don't need a label, or you make your own label or whatever. But what is licensing? Oh man.
Licensing means that you either for a certain territory or the whole world, that can be negotiated in the contract. It means that you basically give a record label the right to release your records for a certain period of time, and let's say it's for 5 years.
Okay. So it's
when those 5 years are over, the rights go back to you, or you renegotiate for another few years if they did a great job. It's I'm not an expert at this, but the great thing about licensing is that if the label that you work with happen to do a really fucking terrible job,
you get it back earlier.
Well, thank God, in a couple of years the rights go back to me and I can try again. So I mean that's in very basic terms. That's how it works. I mean, I'm sure a licensing deal can probably be very complicated and terrible as well, but at least it's better than an artist deal, which I think is what they call it, which is like a more traditional record deal. can often be a case of you never seeing the rights to your music ever again, because they will hold on. The record label will, they will pay for the recording of the album.
Hmm.
And since they do that, they are take in fact they do take a certain risk by paying for that, because you never know if they're going to make their money back. So they do take a certain risk. But I mean, on the other end of the spectrum, they sometimes they will keep the rights forever.
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
So
No, but I mean, this we are in a lucky position. This today, you don't need a label for that. You can record it on your own, and if you want to spend in some more money, you can get it mixed and mastered properly and stuff. So this is
yeah,
this is the good thing today. And here, the radio DJ is speaking again, because it's the good thing and the bad thing. Because today everyone can make music, and everyone makes music. And you can
yeah.
imagine I get an avalanche of not so good music. Let's put it politely.
I can imagine that. I mean, this the thing about record labels. I'm not gonna slag them off completely. There are advantages to being signed with a proper record label, and by proper I mean a record label that's been around for some time, that has a bit of money in the bank, and what they've done. A real record label will have accumulated a really nice network of contacts,
Hmm.
for
Yep.
which they will use for promotion, to get in touch with people like you, to play
Hmm.
the music, and magazines, and all kinds of online mags, and even the few print mags that are still left, and the DJs around, the radio DJs and the club DJs, and all that stuff. And most artists wouldn't know where the fuck to begin
Hmm.
in terms of self promotion. I mean, I've done that sometimes when I've really done it DIY, do it
Hmm.
yourself.
Yep.
I've hired some promo people like Heartbeat Propaganda over in Germany, Eric Burton and those guys, that I've known since I was signed to a label, and I met them, and I always kept those guys in the back of my head, because I thought they might be useful to know,
Good.
you
Yeah.
know.
Mhm.
but
That's
you have to pay for it.
no, and
So
this is actually a good point you're making. This is really networking is the key. Is almost the key in every profession. The more
yeah,
people you know, and also, this is actually where you come in, and this is so nice for me, because I'm a very small someone. I don't have a big audience. I have a little audience, but it's really nice that you still agreed to talk with me. Because I guess you're a very busy man. You already established you have a family as well. You have a job. You have all these other things, and you're still talking with me. So I'm very grateful for that. Thank you very much. And
no problem.
but but what I wanted to say is you're doing it right, because I talk sometimes, or I try to talk with sometimes, let's say, smaller bands, and then they brush me off like, oh, you have only 800 followers, or you have only this and that, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm a one man army, and the key is what you bring in, being friendly with people, because it never hurts if you're being nice. You don't have to talk with me, but you can say, oh no, right now it's not the right thing. But sometimes I get brushed off rather
Yeah,
harshly. Let's
I,
put
I,
it this
I don't
way.
I don't understand why people do that, because who do you think you're going to talk to in the end? The Rolling Stone magazine? I mean, who is, if everybody's too small for you, who the fuck do you think you are? Oh, I can see that, the proper big bands these days, yeah, they would probably brush you off because of, you only have 800 listeners or whatever,
Hmm.
because they're used to talking to, whatever the fuck, Rolling Stone, and
Hmm.
I don't know what these goddamn fucking. I don't even know what it's called up there. At the top. I don't know. I'll never be there, so I don't know. Um, I think it's just a bad attitude, and it's probably very self-destructive. And it sounds to me like they don't quite understand that doing promotion is a lot of work. You
Hmm.
know, it's not going to be just you talking to two magazines and then they're going to make you famous. You got to work fucking. You got to go to work every day.
Yep.
It's like a regular job. You don't work like one day a week. You work fucking five. You want to get your paycheck. You want to pay your bills. You work. You get up out of fucking bed and you work every day.
Hmm.
That's real life. And I think that should translate into the music industry. And I mean, do you show up at work being an asshole? And I mean, nobody does that. I mean, some people do, but people hate them. So
Hmm.
don't do that. It's
Exactly.
not going to get you anywhere.
Yep. I don't. That's exactly my point, and thank you for stating it again. Um,
Mm.
I don't get it. I mean, you don't have to love it, and you're busy or whatever, or you don't feel it worthwhile. But just in German, you say the tone makes the music. It's also how you say it, and how do you and why. Anyway, that's my. I had and I don't want to keep you for too long. I don't know when you want to finish, but how do you do it in your own life? Because like we already established, you have all these other things, and you just said it's like every day you have to do something, and I'm completely agreeing with you. I get up usually at 4 o'clock in the morning, do my whole. Yeah, I'm a morning person, so this is not a problem for me. I don't have
Okay.
even an alarm clock. I just wake up. I'm
Yeah.
awake. Um,
Wow.
and what I wanted to say was, and then I do my social media stuff. I do my playlist, and I do a new radio show. Prepare all of I do all this in the morning because the family is still sleeping, and I have my quiet and peace. So how
Yeah.
do you find the time for this? Because you already said it's not your full-time job. So how can I guess like you said it before, you just got so used to it when also with your thoughts that you write down things, and when you find it 10 years later or something.
Mm.
But how is your, maybe walk me through a day of yours. This would be interesting. How is a day of yours structured?
Well, I mean, a regular day would be I go to work at around 7:30 or 3 in the afternoon. It depends if I have like a day shift or an evening
Hmm.
shift, and I work and sort of on the fringes of the health service. I deal with people with special needs and things like that.
Hmm.
Which is kind of like sometimes it's a bit of an exhausting job because they can get kind of naggy and it's a lot of sort of this catering to people that don't they can be a little bit of a handful sometimes. Sometimes that's totally fine, and other times if you're tired, it you get really tired.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I get up. Usually get up like probably 6:30 in the morning. And whether or not my wife is up at that point, I might have to deal with a little bit with the kids and make some food for them and things like that. And then I go off to work, and you know, and I kind of go through that day. And there's a lot of windows, and that's a good thing about that kind of job. A lot of times, it's more about just being social with people.
Hmm.
So that gives me actually a lot of little windows of silence and the freedom to just you know get my phone out, and I can deal with emails and all kinds of communication and actually
Ah,
a
I
little
see.
bit of business through that
Hmm.
phone. I'll take any window I get
Hmm.
to get something done. Um, I mean, I even bring like I actually have a sort of a scaled down version of my studio that I just bring, in a backpack.
Hmm.
That's why I always work with laptops because I can bring my studio with me everywhere. So I can even sit at my job and work on music a little bit if it's a really quiet day. So I can actually sit there with a headset and work on music.
Hmm.
And in the afternoons, I'll drive up, which is across town from where I live. I'm renting a room. That's my proper studio, and I'll just hook the laptop up to the bigger system and keep working.
Hmm.
And in between that, I'll check emails and do all kinds of shit. And yeah, that's pretty much how the day goes until it's later on, and I'll get back. Of course, I'll hang out with my family a little bit, but they're pretty used.
They appreciate it, I guess.
Yeah, well, yes and
Mm.
no.
Yes,
I'm a little bit of. I can be a very annoying person, apparently.
yeah,
So,
me too. Me too. My
yeah,
daughter is. I like to tease her, and then yeah, well,
yeah,
I'm a dad. So she has to
yeah.
deal
I
with
have a
me.
daughter. She actually
Mm,
turned 13 today.
no.
So
Oh,
so
today.
she had her birthday
Mine
earlier.
is 8. Mine is 8.
Yeah, my son is
Mm,
he's not 8, he's 10, but almost 10. So she turned 13 today, and she's very
Ooh,
proud. So I kept telling her like, "You're
she's a
12."
teenager now.
Yeah,
Mm,
but I kept telling her like, "Happy 12th birthday," just
mm.
to annoy her. It's another year until you're 30. It's just I have a terrible sense of humor.
Yeah, me too.
Uh,
I think my daughter would kind of click with your daughter. My daughter is not happy about me as well.
no, no, no. I mean, I have the worst humor. And
But
yeah, so yeah.
you know what I'm kind of as you were talking, I was kind of thinking you kind of negate what you said earlier a little bit because now it seems like uh, your day is constantly full with things you're doing. But before you said you also whatever comes into your head and you let your mind wander. So it seems like it's only when you drive your car that your
Yeah,
mind
but
is watering.
those are the other windows.
Okay.
When you're in your car, when you're on your way somewhere, which happens a lot. There's a lot of
Hmm.
car driving in my job too, to drive these guys around
I see.
because they don't have a lot to do. So there's I understand what you mean by that, but
Mm-hmm.
there is still every little pocket of time
Mm-hmm.
I use for something. But there's a lot of stuff going on up here in my mind.
I see.
Um, Even sitting in waiting rooms, like you said, or well, what else? Just waiting for things, waiting for the train.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, you know, uh, it'll just wander, and it's like I said, you get that app out, you write down your ideas. So there's
Mm-hmm.
always some kind of work going on.
Yeah. No, I think this is sorry, this is just me, and I know we're talking about you, but I think this is really a lost sense. The youth, okay, I'm the old person again. The youth lost the sense of boredom, or so. When we need to be constantly entertained and stuff, and I really enjoy now being bored and just going out on my balcony and looking out, like an old person being there and then looking
Yeah,
around and just let my mind wander and just enjoy how it rained today, how nice the air is, and just I like that. But I guess this is also when you become older, you know what's good for you, because
yeah,
also you need this downtime that you take a walk in the woods. I'm right living to the woods here, and just let it happen, and just don't think about anything. Don't leave your laptops at home and your phones and stuff, and just enjoy the nature. And when I realized, I did this morning, I did a jog, and I didn't took anything with me, and I was seeing some really nice stuff. Where oh, I could put it on Instagram. It looks so cool. And when oh shit, I don't. And when I was like, Tobias, calm
so you're
down.
you're a little damaged by it.
Exactly. I realized how damaged I am. Like, but I'm only thinking, oh, this looks good. I should Instagram it. Because it would
Yeah,
still look good if I don't put it on Instagram.
I'm completely damaged by it. I don't think I go anywhere without my phone, but I consider my phone to be a tool
Hmm.
of the trade that I'm in. So I use it. Obviously, I use it for updating socials and all that stuff, which is a part of what I do. I mean, if I don't do that, um, I'll probably just fade away because people's attention span is so short. You kind of have to, and I don't like it, but I've accepted that you kind of have to be quite active on social media to just sort of
Hmm.
remind people that, yeah, I'm here. Hello, hello.
Yeah. This took me
I'm doing
this
this. I'm doing that. Here's my web store. So it's
exactly.
it's it's a it's marketing really,
Hmm.
and to make it, it's very cynical sounding, but it's unfortunately it's at least partially true. You just have to keep marketing yourself, and because I mean, I was away for a few years. I didn't do anything with social media. I was pretty much it was what I call the lost years, which it's a while back now. But I had to rebuild everything. When I finally decided to, like, okay, I'm going to reemerge. I'm going to start existing again. You realize how forgotten you had become.
Hmm.
So, and that was a lot of work. It took me a couple of years, really, to build back up and really make people and sort of the industry, so to speak, realize that, hey, Mortiis is back and he's being active and stuff like that. And it's not something you can do in a week. So ever since then, I've just remained very active.
Hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, I've become like a bit of obsession now. So I
Yeah.
don't have time to be bored. I never get bored because there's always something to do.
Yeah, me too. I'm always having something to do, and like you, I also had to. A friend of mine said it quite nice. hate the game but don't hate the player. So I don't like this social media game, but I have to play it as well because like you, I don't exist if I'm not like if I don't have 1,000 followers or something, and this is
Yeah, and
so
you got to
important.
keep telling them that, hey, I'm here. Here's something new. Here's
Yeah,
something
yeah.
interesting. And because they're gonna wander off somewhere else
Hmm. And
immediately.
and this is also, once again, this is something I can put a positive spin on it, because if they stick around, this means you you won against all the things that is grabbing attention from them today. And today everything grabs attention. They have an iPad, they have a
Yeah,
TV, they have a computer, they have their smartphones, they have I don't know, friends. Right now not much is going on with but anyway, they go to parties and to
yeah,
concerts and this and that. So in this sense, it's it's really something, telling something if they stick around, because there is
yeah.
so much distraction, but they stick with you. So this is something I always feel honored. I just today did my radio show, and I thanked my listeners that they were there because they took their time out and listened to my show. So it's cool. So yeah.
Yeah. That is true. Just even to have their attention for a few seconds with all these other distractions and all the other cool things that they could be doing,
Hmm.
like playing Candy Crush.
Yeah, yeah, right on.
Which is like what a fantastic way to spend your time. Um,
I
yeah,
hear the
yeah,
sarcasm. I hear the sarcasm. I got it.
yeah, a little. There's a hint of it.
Yeah.
I think my phone is dying. By the way,
Okay.
I only have a few percentage
Yeah.
left in the
No. No.
battery.
No problem.
Yeah.
So let's wrap this up. Thank you very much. Is there something you wanna you have a last word? You wanna say something to the audience, to the millions out there?
I guess like you just did, like you just said. I mean, I'm always grateful for people tuning into interviews that I do, and then my own socials, and just anything that's related to Mortiis. I'm very grateful that people, after all these years, still fucking want to check it out, and they're still into it. So that's fantastic, man. It's I don't think I don't want to brag or anything, but I mean, to be able to do this for 30 years and at least maintain some kind of following, I don't think a lot of people can say that they've done that. So I'm a little proud of that.
Yep. And you should. You
Uh,
should. You should.
yeah. So yeah. Again, thanks to everyone for sticking around.
Okay. Thank you. That's really good. Nice last words. So have a good evening,
Yes, you
and
too.